Chronic anxiety is a horrible thing to have. I know. I lived with it for years myself. That's why I became expert in how to beat it. My name is Professor Paul, and I've got 40 plus years in the helping field. And today, I'm going to teach you everything that you need to know about how anxiety works and how to beat it. Let's jump right in. The cause of anxiety is actually fairly simple. It's a 4-letter word called life. It is tough out there. They say if you haven't been stressed by life, you haven't been paying attention. It is rough out there. People coming at you, you're working hard, this is going on, that's going on, this goes wrong, this problem attacks you. It goes on and on and on. Life is tough. So a couple of things that I want to tell you. People think, well, there must be something wrong with me. Maybe it's biological, maybe I'm just dysfunctional. No. The people that get anxiety are the ones that are wildly functional. They are hard charging. See, weak people, when they get a little bit of anxiety, they cry and it gets too hard and they go out and drink with their buddies and they immediately go to their therapist and they get out of the bad situation, quit the bad relationship, quit the bad job. But strong people keep going and keep toughing it out. They go on and on and on. They don't quit for nothing. They're like Rocky. They're just going to, keep punching until they get through. Well, your anxiety levels keep going up and up and up. And at these really high levels that only the strongest people can do, it starts getting locked in to your nervous system and into your mental system as a mental disorder known as anxiety disorder. Now, there can be a small biological component, but that only accounts for about 2 or 3% of the population where maybe they have an adrenal or a thyroid disorder where they're pumping all these hormones or adrenaline and things like that. And you can pretty readily solve that with medication. But for the rest of the people, it's a thought process and the fact that, hey, you were just too damn strong. Now we're going to start taking that strength and using it for you instead of against you. Now let's look at exactly what anxiety is. The reason you haven't been able to solve your anxiety is you can't solve anything when you don't know what it is and you don't know how to beat it. So we're going to teach you exactly what it is, and that's going to halfway solve it. Once you know exactly what anxiety is, it may even intuitively give you some solutions so that you'll know what to do on your own. You're creative, you're smart, you can help make this happen. Now, the first thing they have to understand and why we have anxiety is the understanding the difference between stress and actual anxiety. See, stress is when you have a stress reaction to something that's actually there. In the picture here, you can see there's a bee. And I'll tell you, if a bee is coming at you and you're not stressed, like I said, you're not paying attention. That is a true stressor, and you should be stressed, and you should take immediate action to take care of the thing. Now, anxiety is stress that happens after the stressor is gone. Hey, the bee gets up and leaves, but you say, "Oh my God, what? I'm still so nervous. I'm still holding on to that stress of the bee being here. And what if he's got buddies and he comes back?" Now you're starting to worry about all these types of things, and the actual threat is completely and utterly gone. That's anxiety. Then anxiety starts doing thought chaining. It thinks of all these what if scenarios. What if this happens, and what if that happens, and another thing, and another thing, and another thing. It starts stacking stress on stress, and that's what causes stress disorders. So the guy thinks, well, what if the bee's got buddies? What if he comes back? That's just step 1. Step 2 is, well, what if he bites me and I have an allergic reaction and I can't breathe and I die? Or what if I have an allergic reaction and I have to be home in bed, or I'm in the hospital for 3 or 4 days, and then my boss calls me up and says, hey, if you can't be here, you're fired. And then he fires me. And then my wife leaves me and I got to fight for custody for my kids, and I've lost my job, and I'm poor and I'm homeless and I'm out on the streets. And then somebody comes and stabs me to take my, cans and cart. I'm this homeless person out on the street, and then I die and nobody cares. How'd you go from a bee flying next to you to your homeless person dying in the street? Hey, person with anxiety can do it. That's what anxiety is. That's called thought chaining. It's one of the major things that you need to get rid of. So what's the solution to thought chaining? Once you start thinking in a chain, notice it, realize it, catch it, and then stop it. Simple, right? I told you could come up with solutions. Now, let's look at this chart on the cycle of anxiety. This is how your anxiety keeps going and going and going. It becomes like this downward spiral that you go through. So the first thing that happens is, let's use the bee example again. The bee comes after you, and that's kind of your trigger. That's what you're going to decide to get so nervous about. You put that into your BS, your belief system. I call it BS for short, just to remind you basically what it is. And your BS system always says in some way, shape, or form that you have to worry about this and you have to jump right on this, and that worrying is actually a solution. No, worrying is actually your problem. It is never your solution. The problem can't possibly be the solution. So you start worrying over and over again, the bee's going to bite me, and I'm going to get sick, and then I'm going to get fired, then my wife's going to leave me, I'm going to get homeless, blah, 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 blah. Based on all these false beliefs, which cause massive worry, you start having physical reaction. Now your heart's palpitating, you start sweating on your forehead, your palms start sweating, you're getting shaky, you're getting nervous, maybe you get trembling, maybe you feel a little bit dizzy. You start having all these physical reactions. Because you're having these physical reactions, you say, oh my God, I'm having a heart attack, I'm having a panic attack, I'm having a stroke, which does what? Triggers another thought, and then you end up going round and round and round like a spiral. Imagine something going down a toilet when you flush it. This is you. You are going to spiral just like that. You keep going round and round in this system. So everything starts here, goes through the cycle, and then does what? Triggers another round. You got to learn how to start breaking these patterns. Now let's look at the different types of anxiety, and boy, there's a bunch of them. Let's look at the first kind of anxiety disorder. It's called OCD. A lot of people, this has been popularized through television. People kind of know what it is. It's obsessive. You think about it all the time. It's compulsive. You can't not do it. Counting, flipping light switches on and off, all kinds of different rituals. These are meant to be kind of what they call self-soothing. You're walking down the sidewalk, and if you step on a crack, you'll break your mother's back. So now you're obsessive compulsive about not stepping on cracks. That's OCD. Post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, also again popularized by TV. You've had a traumatic stress, and it's post-traumatic stress because this is after the stress. So this is like what we talked about originally. The bee's there, that's your traumatic stress. It's gone, but you still worry about it. So it's kind of like I stab you with a knife. If I take away the knife, yes, the stressor is gone, but the injury lingers on. That's post-traumatic stress. Generalized anxiety disorder is a lot of what we've been talking about. I can worry about anything in general. I'm really good at it. This is the most common kind. They call it GAD because it just matches up with the acronym. Generalized anxiety disorder. I'm really good at getting nervous about anything. Now, there's other people that are very specific about what they get nervous about. They got social phobia. I think you know what that is. It's when you get nervous around other people. Panic disorder is when your anxiety gets so bad, oh my gosh, you start shaking, trembling, you think you're having a heart attack or a stroke, your breathing gets really bad, you think you're going to pass out. That's a panic attack. And once you've had one panic attack, congratulations. You went from an anxiety disorder to a panic disorder. But it's still in that category or list or spectrum of anxiety disorders. Then there's people that have real specific phobias, snake phobia, claustrophobia, you don't like to be in small places, agoraphobia, you don't like to be in big open places. So you can be phobic about anything. I remember seeing a list, there's like 2,000 different phobias, and they got a different Greek name for every single one of them. So as you can see, there's a wide variety, a way to be nervous about things. But at their core, the good news is they all work almost exactly the same, and they have the same solution. I want to look at what is generalized anxiety disorder. And I want to use this as kind of a model for the other disorders. This one is the most common, and it's a good framework for how the other ones pretty much all work. So let's look at the diagnostic criteria real quick. So generalized anxiety disorder is when, appropriately enough, you have a lot of anxiety and worry. And it occurs more days than not, which means it occurs at least 4 days out of 7. And it's gone on for at least 6 months. Now, if you're watching this video, I got to assume that you've whistled right past 6 months. Now, the next criteria is that you have a difficult time controlling these anxious and worried thoughts. I mean, if you could control them, how would you ever have an anxiety disorder? you wouldn't. So that's why it's one of the criteria. Now, this one simply states that yes, you have anxiety and worry. It interferes with your daily life. So it's at a level where it's really causing disruption in your daily life. It's not just a little bit of anxiety, a little bit of worry. It's causing you relationship problems, job problems, could be causing you health problems, all kinds of different challenges in your life, which are really disruptive. And the second thing is it's not based on a medical disorder, maybe like, you've got hyperthyroid or something like that. And it's not based on drugs, which means, hey, I'm just whacked out on cocaine. So now I'm like worried and nervous and schizophrenic. It's not. Now, this one simply states that yes, you have anxiety and worry. It interferes with your daily life. So it's at a level where it's really causing disruption in your daily life. It's not just a little bit of anxiety, a little bit of worry. It's causing you relationship problems, job problems, could be causing you health problems, all kinds of different challenges in your life, which are really disruptive. And the second thing is it's not based on a medical disorder, maybe like, you've got hyperthyroid or something like that. And it's not based on drugs, which means, hey, I'm just whacked out on cocaine. So now I'm like worried and nervous and schizophrenic. It's not based on that. Okay, now that we know what an anxiety disorder is, hey, what do we do about it? Let's look at some treatment strategies. But a quick caveat before we start. Hey, if you or somebody you love has a really bad anxiety disorder, seriously consider getting professional treatment. It's the fastest and bestest way to do it. Okay, let's jump right in. Let's get started. Now, the first realization that's going to be really powerful and is really going to help you with your anxiety is realizing that anxiety is a thought disorder. You have anxiety disorder because of the way in which you think. Once you change the way you think, the anxiety disorder starts going away. There's lots and lots of ways to do this, so let's review some of the most powerful ways you can do that. Now, the good news is there's a ton of ways to deal with anxiety disorder. The bad news is there's a ton of ways to deal with anxiety disorder. Now, I'm one of those crazy therapists that can actually do this entire list. But that's one of the reasons why it's good to work with a trained therapist like myself that can figure out specific to you, to your personality, your challenges, the way you do anxiety in your own special way, figure out what's the exact formulation that we can use for you that'll be the most effective. The worst case scenario is you grab one of these and say you do the educational route. You start learning more about anxiety. You start learning what it is and how it works and how it functions. Like I said, almost intuitively, you'll be able to start coming up with solutions because the opposite of the problem in probably 80% of cases is the solution. Great. Next thing is medication. Medication is what I call legitimate cheap. It's great to use a light medication like a beta blocker or something like that to calm the symptoms and to give you some relief, let you get some sleep at night, and then start addressing the problem. Later, you can taper off the medication. Once you've got the mental stuff solved, you won't even need the medication, and your doctor will take you off of it. Next thing is talk therapy, simply working through your system for how you so successfully make yourself anxious and figuring out ways to stop doing those types of things. That's talk therapy. I'm great at that. REBT, Rational Emotive Behavioral Therapy. Now, shameless plug, I got a training on this. I'll leave the link in the description down below for you. But REBT is Rational Emotive Behavioral Therapy. Big fancy word means here's the science of how you deprogram your brain, say from like the anxious thoughts, and then reprogram your brain for the positive, calming thoughts that you do want. You're literally just reprogramming your brain like you're going into your brain like a computer and deleting the anxious program and then putting in the one that you do want. Bibliotherapy. Biblio is a big fancy word. It just means books. There's different books and suggestions that you can find on anxiety and just start reading. YouTube is kind of like the quickie version of that. I've got the 500 books behind me. I've read them all. I've already done the bibliotherapy for you, and now I just tell you how to do things. But it's a slower, longer, sometimes more intensive way to do it, and some people love bibliotherapy. Next thing is hypnosis. That's probably the only thing I don't do. I'm not a trained hypnotherapist, but I can give you recommendations and CDs and things like that for doing self-hypnosis, which is great. I hold my pants up with a black belt. I've been a Kung Fu instructor since I was 14 years old, so I do teach meditation. Relaxation, of course, always works. That's the exact opposite of anxiety, so you can see where that would be really helpful and give you quick results. Lifestyle changes. Sometimes you are anxious because your life sucks. And you know why you're anxious? Because your life sucks. Stop making your life suck. If you're staying in a bad situation, you're choosing a bad situation. We got to get you out of these things and make your life more stress-free. Now, that's true for anybody, but really important for people with anxiety. Now, NLP. Also teach this, another shameless plug. Go ahead and look in the description below. I've got a training on NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, how you deprogram and reprogram your brain. It's more about how you use language though. Neuro, brain, linguistic, language, P, programming. Your thoughts become words, become feelings, and you can change all of that. Now, exercise is another one. Like I said, I hold my pants up with a black belt. I love to exercise. They found exercise works about as good as most of the psychotropic drugs. Not always, but it's a huge aid. And even when you're on the psychotropic drugs, those work better when you're doing what? The exercise. Social and problem-solving skills. So kind of like coping skills. Coping skills are the things that people need the most of and tend to have the least of. Another shameless plug. I've got some coping skills trainings down below. Also, you can see there's exposure therapy if you have a specific phobia. It's great for that. And then you have to learn the coping skills like we just talked about. Get more of those coping skills going. Ways to beat, specific ways to beat your anxious thoughts. And then there's something called Zen therapy. People think Zen's this mystical thing, might be semi-religious, blah, 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 blah. No. It's the Asian science of reality and better ways of living, a different lifestyle change. So they look at reality very accurately. So not my truth, not your truth, the universe's truth, ultimate truth. And when you see ultimate truth, fictions like your anxiety dissolve and they go away. Nice. And they've also got lots of ways to de-stress, like that book, Don't Sweat the Small Stuff. What do you think that was? A tiny sliver of Zen philosophy made into a 365-page book, sold millions. Now, there's workbooks that you can do to kind of look at how you stress and your system for stress, and then how to beat that system and how to pull that system apart and how to build better systems. Workbooks can be great. And then there's video and audio versions of just doing therapy. I mean, you're literally doing a video version right now. If you cut the picture out and or close your eyes and just listen, I guess you're doing the audio version. I love this old quote by Jim Rohn. It says, success is first a study and then a practice. You got to learn the skills that you need to be able to deal with the challenges in life, especially anxiety. So first you learn the skills, then you start practicing them, and then your life gets better. The cool thing is, the things that I'm going to recommend here can not only help you defeat anxiety, but they can be generalized, which means you can use them in virtually every area of your life. How cool would that be? So here's the 4 primary skills that I recommend to you. Not only can these defeat your anxiety, they can help you out in virtually every other area of your life. The first one is REBT, Rational Motor Behavioral Therapy, literally the science of how to reprogram your mind. The next one is neuro-linguistic programming, how you use thoughts and images and words to program your mind. Zen therapy, I love this one. This is the one that helped me originally to be able to defeat my anxiety after years and years and years. It's literally the Asian science of how your brain works. And I love the way that they teach it. There's different stories and philosophies and new ways of thinking. It really expands your mind. It's very positive. It's very hopeful. It's very encouraging. It's very relaxing. It makes you a much more open and expansive thinker. And it's one of those skills that can help you in virtually every area of your life. And it just helps you to feel fantastic. And you can learn a good chunk of it in my course, which is about 2 hours long. Coping skills. As a therapist, of course, I love coping skills. It's a lot of what I do. It's about 80% of what I do all day long. See, you were cheated. As a kid, you should have been taught all kinds of different coping skills, but you learned just the tiniest amount. I can teach you more in one coping skills course than most people will know from the cradle to the grave, from the womb to the tomb, that they will ever learn in their entire life, and you can nail it down in like 90 minutes, and you'll be amazed before you're halfway through. You deserve to have a better life, and this is a great way to do it that's fast, simple, and easy. Hey, I'd love to teach you so much more, but we're literally running out of time. But if you want some of the really advanced stuff, I can help you out. So here's what I recommend if you need more help. Go ahead and get my entire collection of my best trainings at whop.com/life-transformation. This is going to teach you how to be healthy, wealthy, and wise. So we're going to have psychology training. That's the wise part. We're going to teach you how to do health and fitness type stuff and even do reverse aging. And then we're going to teach you how to be wealthy as well. We're going to teach you how to make more money, save more money, invest more money, multiply your money, all these things, because these are the major stressors in life. You either need to check up from the neck up, or you got health stressors, or you got financial stressors. You need to get rid of all three. That's how you beat anxiety. Not just thinking about things different or, putting on rose-colored glasses and trying to think positive thoughts all day. You got to take care of the three main areas of life: healthy, wealthy, and wise. Go to whop.com/life-transformation. I'll see you there, and we'll help you with every challenge you're pretty much ever going to have in life and make you feel fantastic. Congratulations, you guys are done. You finished the training. I'm so proud of you. Please go ahead and like and subscribe. Go down through my playlist. We got other great trainings for you. And I would really love it if you'd write down in the comments section what you'd like to learn. What new kinds of trainings do you want us to develop for you? What kinds of questions or concerns do you have? Additional challenges you have? Anything that you need help with, I want to help you with. So go ahead and like and subscribe, and then put your comments down below. We love to hear from our students. My name is Professor Paul, and I'll see you in my very next training.